Hi, this is Tanya Francine with the National Weather Service Skywarn program, reminding you to keep an eye to the sky and listen to the XJ Talk Show.
Howdy, boys and girls. This is the XG Talk Show pre-show, and we usually get started we usually start the broadcast about 15 minutes before showtime. We're getting started a little later tonight, but if you're watching this recording on YouTube, just fast forward to the part where you see my and Josh's smiling faces, or shiny faces, or however you want to put it, and that's whenever the show is actually going on. Or you could just sit back and enjoy the strange things that happen prior to the actual show taking off. Probably going to get a little late start tonight. I always say that, but tonight it's especially true because I just got up here about 3 minutes ago. So got all my work done early and went and did some other things tonight, and actually laid down, maybe had a 15-minute nap so I wouldn't doze off in the middle of the show. We all know how good I like my naps. But Josh has joined us already.
Hi guys, I'm here. Looking forward to a good show. And
And of course, the music. You said, "Hey guys," and it was just fine. And you start talking, and the music is louder than you, I guess, because it started chopping.
See, somewhere in a past life, I pissed off Skype, and it just doesn't like me anymore.
I'm sure it's just we're using Skype other than it was designed for other things than it was designed for.
Yeah. So, Tony, there's a couple links in the show notes. I didn't know what I know one of them was a Jeep story, and the other I wasn't sure what it's about.
Well, it's hurricane season, and although a large portion of the listening audience isn't going to be subjected to hurricanes, some will. And I thought we might want to remind people about those various things that the FCC is talking about.
So it's like a list of about 10 or 11 tips here that we can give out to people?
Yeah, but with the show, you saw some of the time frames I put on there, I guess, where we're at what times we need to be where. Because Steve had warned me that this garage tips was kind of long, and it wasn't until I actually was putting the times in the show notes that I remembered him telling me that. Because he said I might have to split that up, and I forgot. But no worries, we can still play it. We just got to keep it tight, the rest of the show tight.
As far as that one other story, that link to a third Jeep tip story, or not Jeep tips, This Week in Jeep story, kind of covered a little bit of that in the last couple of weeks about the record auto sales that Jeep is having. If you wanted to skip it, we could.
No, it's fine. Whatever you prefer. It's just something that somebody provided for us, and we always have the opportunity of using or not using it.
I looked at the article. It's a fairly lengthy article. We can touch on some of the hot points of it, or we can skip it altogether. I'm just worried about hitting that 20-minute mark for the chit chat.
I don't think we're going to have a problem.
All right.
As fast as the show is going now.
Yeah, true.
Just as long as we're aware of the time frame.
And my two stories for This Week in Jeep are fairly quick. Probably only, I think, about 3 minutes apiece as far as reading speed goes.
Well, no freezing.
Man, that's a good thing. Do we have any reviews for tonight?
I didn't even look on Stitcher. It's been so long since we got one, but nothing new on iTunes.
Sounds like you're still eating some dinner.
Having a little bit of chicken soup.
Ah.
Let's see. See that Joseph Webb, I think I said that properly, has started circling us on Google Plus. Yep, Joseph Webb. And Mancaris, Mancaris', Mancaris Jeep Dodge added us to their circles.
Yeah, for some reason, out of all the songs that you played, one always allowed.
It has nothing but good things to say about you. Okay, so did you send me a show opener?
I sure did.
I don't think I'm accusing you of not. I'm just asking. Jeez.
How dare you?
Exactly. Well, that's some good music.
I like a good electric guitar.
Yeah. But I haven't chatted with Tom Rapp in a while. I'll have to find out what he's up to.
I used to know several magicians.
Magicians, yeah. I thought you were going to say that.
Musicians.
That's actually a compliment. Magic with the musical instruments. XJ Talk Show. Openers.
I threw up the live show link in on the chat over at XJ Talk.
Oh, good.
And logged on to the.
I thought you said Long Dong. Long Dong 2, the sequel.
You wouldn't believe what's on XJ Talk now. No, logged on to the YouTube. We already got Steve up there, and he's chatting away.
Long Dong 2, the sequel, looking for love in all the wrong places. Ain't that a stick in the eye? Yep, there's Steve. All right, well, I'm going to close things up and turn this bright, hot light on.
Okie dokie.
We are color coordinated tonight.
Again?
I've been wearing the same shirt every night for the last 3 nights, I think.
You got a house shirt that you wear?
Well, I can't wear my T-shirts to work anymore. When I was working at HP, I could. So I've got these colorful champion t-shirts, and I don't have a colorful one on tonight. I used to wear gray all the time, just to, around the house and get sleepy, lay down. Oh, you'll like this, Josh. Your video is frozen. So I guess keep an eye on the chat.
Yeah, gonna have to, I guess. Dang it. Yeah, I don't have anything open that I don't
think it's on your end. I just happen to think that, it was worth rebooting your PC just to see if it was, but I have nothing to compare it with here. I don't think it would be anything on my end. We'll just go with it.
Looking up really quick, Skype video keeps freezing. The latest entry for such a thing is October 22nd of 2012.
Be like a 70s end of a 70s B movie. Everybody freezes at the end. You'll just have to jump. Okay. Well, I think we can get going. Unless you...
Yeah, I'm ready if you are.
It already started the recording. That's not right. Stop that. Oh, I have a sound file to play in my chat segment for the not the shocks, but the other one.
Oh, okay.
Not a long one. Not a long one.
Oh, okay. I've got something that I was going to throw into the show tonight, but I forgot to upload it to the Dropbox. Maybe in the post show we'll do a little, and it's like a minute and a half long or something like that. Something that I forgot that I had done. I don't know, a few months ago or something like that. Just a little fun I had with a character I made up.
Okay.
And it's Jeep related.
It's not a subconscious thing, is it?
No, not at all.
Because that's been copyrighted. That would be hell, wouldn't it? Well, to be sued for something that was based on your subconscious.
Oh, that'd be great.
I could just see that happen.
Right there.
Jim would be going, nope, I came up with a character. He stole it.
I was first.
But I'm Josh. I'm Josh.
It's my subconscious.
Yeah. Okay. Well, stranger things have happened in the courts.
All
right. Well, let's see. Show notes. That would be handy. I was just trying to, thinking, now what do we do first? And I went, wait a minute. We have show notes. It's not even like I have to think. I just have to read. Alrighty. So we'll start with a disclaimer, go into the opener. You have quite a bit to read. So let me see. I need to look at this every time. The opener is 2 minutes, 46 seconds. So I need to start talking about 2:06 to 2:16. See, 2:06 would be 40 seconds. So right around about 2:10, I guess. I'll start the little spiel that I have to read. Okay. I'm going to roll it.
All right, dude.
The XJ Talk Show is for entertainment purposes only. Any advice or information provided on this show should be verified by alternative sources prior to making any changes or modifications to your vehicle. We are not experts, just people that enjoy the Jeep hobby and don't mind talking endlessly about it. P.S. We love you.
This broadcast for a live X-Day Talk Show news break. Deadly computer virus spreading to humans. Important software updates to follow. We now return you to your regularly scheduled program.
Hey, stud. It's time for the XJ Talk Show. Now, here's my two favorite boys, Tony and Josh.
Yes, this is episode 142 of the XJ Talk Show. Thank you for joining us, as you always do. We can always count on you guys, just like we can always count on Nikki G to call in some voicemails like he does every week. We really appreciate it, Nikki G, and you should call in your voicemails too, but more about that later. Here's my co-host.
I'm Josh. You guys know me as NW99XJ or Northwest 99XJ over at xjtalk.com.
Of course you do. Yeah, and Josh has been made himself much more of a presence on xjtalk.com, and we really appreciate it. I was noticing a post, I guess it was last night, Josh, that you were pimping out the show in one of the chats, telling a new member about, hey, check out the show, and I believe they actually said, I got the distinct feeling it was a she, but it got it was like she said that she had already checked that out, and it was really nice.
Yeah, we got some kind words from a new member, a relatively new Jeeper, and well, they're actually a Northwesterner too, so somebody out and kind of sort of in my neck of the woods.
Kind of, sort of. Well, I guess if they're anywhere close to your neck of the woods, it would be closer than what I am.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Hey, this is the XJ Talk Show, a podcast about Jeep Cherokees, off-roading, the tech that you need to get you there and back. We're here to promote the web's most premier website for all that is Jeep Cherokee, xjtalk.com. The friendliest and most helpful Jeep site on the web. xjtalk.com encourages and answers all questions and concerns that the first-time XJ owners typically have without any flaming or criticism, all while giving you the best, most in-depth articles and write-ups for the repairs and modifications that take your average XJ to the next level. Now get ready. The XJ Talk Show. It starts right now.
First Week in Jeep.
Brazil gets it. India? Well, not so much. For the first time, Jeep will be launching its brand in India next year. However, plans to include the new Renegade model have been canceled. And believe me, I've looked around for the reasons why, and I can't actually find anything. So it's kind of being kept under wraps as to why India is being kept out of the loop, as it were. Brazil, on the other hand, will be getting the 2015 Renegade, and it has already been spotted by keen observers ahead of the official reveal. Photos have leaked online showing it in the typical, oh my God, what the hell is that? Don't look at me, nothing to see here, camouflage. The vehicle will be officially shown off in Brazil during the upcoming Sao Paulo Auto Show and is expected to go on sale in March of 2015. The U.S. and other Western countries will get it a little earlier in January. That's right, world. Once again, USA comes first. The Renegade is the smallest of all the Jeeps ever offered and is inspired by the infamous Dung Beetle, or what Fiat Chrysler likes to call their new small, wide 4x4 architecture. Or this is really just a car and we have no idea what we're doing platform, as I like to call it. Designed in the United States by blind fourth graders in remedial art class and manufactured in Fiat by Fiat in Italy using Chinese parts that were machined in Russia. The US SUV will come in 3 engine and at least 2 transmission configurations. Because let's face it, if you're going to drive something that's barely a Jeep to begin with, why not confuse yourself and those around you further by getting to choose from an almost endless combination of drivetrain options? Starting with a 6-speed. These are expected to include a 1.6-liter flex fuel, a 1.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, and a 2.4-liter 4-cylinder engine with a 9-speed automatic transmission. With the U.S. doesn't get one of these neener diesel options available everywhere globally, but here, coming soon after. While it's by far the smallest sport utility Jeep on the market, it is still very spacious inside. It can fit up to 5 people with a big cargo area. And if that wasn't enough for you, it can perform off-road duty just as well as its larger cousins, the Geo Metro and Mini Cooper. But hey, at least it's got some bling with its 17-inch off-road aluminum wheels. Pricing is believed to be in the range of 65,000 reals in Brazil, or around 28,665 if you convert that to US dollars. The list of the most hackable vehicles of 2014 is out, and guess who's on top of the list? It used to be all a would-be thief would need to acquire a vehicle that wasn't his was a lockpick, a hammer, or a decent Slim Jim, and the knowledge to hotwire an ignition. Of course, the balls and lack of intelligence to do this in the first place was probably a prerequisite as well. Nowadays, computers are controlling more and more of the cars we drive, and criminals are turning to the technology to try and take over your car. That is, unless you own a certain 1996 Honda Accord. A new report released by automobile researchers Charlie Miller and Chris Valasek looked at most hackable cars of 2014, and I know some of you loyal listeners are going to get a kick out of who made it on the list. Of all the vehicles they researched, examined, and tested, the 2014 Jeep Cherokee topped the list, followed by the 2015 Cadillac Escalade and the 2014 Toyota Prius. Near the bottom of the list, as the least hackable, were the 2014 Dodge Viper and the 2014 Audi A8. Both respectable cars, if you ask me. The study finds the easiest things to hack are the car's built-in apps and Bluetooth, which connect to the car services such as OnStar. While the study did not provoke any responses from Ford or Toyota after being shown the findings, the automobile industry has been recently trying to crack down on potential cyber risks to cars. The Alliance of Automobile Manufacturers and the Associate of Global Automakers said last month that they have plans to address these technological weaknesses in new models. What does that mean for those of you who are who made the decision to get one of the 2014 Jeep Cherokees, despite the advice from a certain number one Jeep podcast? Well, you had better hope there's a firmware update soon, or that Chrysler is going to make a patch for that ultra-hackable, super trendy SUV wannabe you just had to have. Hey, if you'd like to submit a story to be aired on This Week in Jeep, or if you have a response to any one of the stories here, please send an email to newstips@xjtalkshow.com.
You know what I find most confusing when your video feed freezes? Your background continues to move. So, guys, we started having some problems with the Josh's video freezing last night on the Tony and Josh show, and it's continued into tonight. So don't freak out when you see me moving and Josh and his striking a pose, so to speak. So this is some of the fun. Yeah, this is some of the fun. Don't ever make that face again. Yeah, right. This is some of the fun that we have here with the live show that you could join in with us every Thursday night, 10 p.m. Central Time, on our YouTube channel, strangely enough, youtube.com/xjtalk. So, yeah, Josh, that's some interesting stuff going on. Perhaps they were only going to sell leather models in India, and somebody...
Oh, good point.
Somebody said, stop the presses.
And you got to figure this out. Hold on. Plan B.
Stop the presses, and hey, give me a burger while you're doing that. So, there's no telling. But I don't know that the economy is any better over in India than what it was several years ago, but I think you could live like a king for $800 a month there. So I don't know how many people are going to be buying a $28,000 vehicle.
Yeah, I especially if they're trying to sell like Grand Cherokees over there. I mean, who the heck is going to be able to afford one of those? And you forget about anything SRT. That's not going to happen. So, geez, what are we left with here? Cherokees, Wranglers, and, well, not Renegades. So I don't know what's going to happen with India's new car market as far as Jeep is concerned. Nonetheless, I'm going to keep digging away at this and see if I can't get to the bottom of why India is kind of getting swept under the rug as far as deliveries go. Because this is very curious. And I really did look. I spent probably a good half hour tonight researching, and all I can find is the announcement and no meat behind it. So for whatever reasons are out there, it's really being kept under wraps as to why India is not going to be getting the Renegade.
Strange stuff. So we'll be looking forward to hearing more about that in the future.
xjtalk.com is where you go when you're not off-road. And now you can go to xjtalk.com when you're off-road too. Using your smartphone, install the Tapa Talk app, then search for XJ Talk. Take XJ Talk with you wherever you go. Jury duty, dinner with your spouse's parents, even, well, anywhere you need your XJ Talk fix.
Hey, it's Matt Adair with Petty Cash Racing. Tune into the XJ Talk Show to find out more about our team and the Jeep we all love.
We welcome and look forward to your questions and comments. Dial 530-675-4102 and leave your message on our 24/7 voicemail.
How would you like to be a guest on the XJ Talk Show? Do you have an interesting story about your Jeep, maybe an off-road adventure? Perhaps you're a vendor and want to get the word out about your great products. Send us an email to interviews@xjtalk.com or call and leave a voice or text message at 530-675-4102. 530-675-4102. We look forward to hearing from you.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or your MP3 player. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/xjtalkshow.
586 subscribers, Josh.
Knocking on that door of 600.
6,000.
Well, we have over 170,000 views. You guys have been doing an excellent job of spreading the word, so keep up the good work and tell a friend about the XJ Talk Show. Turn them on and get them to subscribe, and who knows, might just get their name as well as yours out on the air.
Hey, let's start with number one, Chris Smith.
We got Fly or Die 209.
Fossil Girls Fossil Girl One's channel.
And this one, geez, I could probably go a few different ways, but I got KC8 and TP.
I almost see that as like catnip.
Oh,
catnip. KC8 NTP. I don't know. It's interesting either way you say it, but thanks a lot for subscribing to our YouTube channel. As I said before, youtube.com/xjtalk. Well, like I said before, I don't want to keep anybody waiting or waiting to the end for these Nikki G voicemails. I just edited it and put it together. I haven't even listened to it, Josh, so it'll be new for me. I'm hoping there's not a tirade of expletives in the middle because I didn't bleep nothing, but, Nikki G hasn't done that yet. Now
he's been a pretty good sport.
Now, mark my words, since he's hearing this, he's going to do that in some future.
He's going to test you.
Yeah,
I know it. Yeah, just every word in the book. He's going to start cussing like a sailor the next time.
I'm gonna tell his wife, and then I'll straighten him out for the next time.
Them fighting words right there.
Hey, this is Tony,
and this is Josh from the XJ Talk Show. We want to thank you for calling our 24/7 voice line.
Yes, we do. Just leave your first name and your question or comment.
There's no guarantee, but we may play your message on the podcast.
Oh, and don't worry about keeping it clean. We'll take care of that.
Now it's your turn to speak at the beep.
Hey, this is Nikki G. I'm running a little slow on the podcast this week. The bastards at work insist on that I do the job that they paid me to do. And they don't understand that they're interfering with my social life. But anywho, so I just finished up listening to the podcast, and I want to thank Steve for his garage tips on welders. I am one of those SOBs that have been thinking about getting a Harbor Freight welder and just welding up a bumper out of scrap. So thanks to the information Steve gave me, I think I'm going to leave the welding to professionals and buy a bumper. This way my Jeep will look prettier. That's about it. I will talk to you guys later. You guys have a good one. Bye.
Well, Nikki G supporting the economy.
Yeah, keeping those planes moving. He works at an airport, guys. I think he actually, I don't think he taxis them, but he pulls them around on one of those little carts that you see.
I was going to say, I don't think the government lets him fly those.
I've seen him in something that looks like a plane, though, on a video that he submitted. So we'll have to find out. We still need to get him on and ask him a few questions. Maybe black his face out and change his voice, so in case it's anything that that he needs to keep secret.
Yeah.
Have you taxied any UFOs?
Hey, this is Nikki G, and I just want to take a second to reply to the comment Tony made about me doing the laundry at my house. Well, since the great vacuum cleaner wing nut incident of '92, I am not allowed within 15 feet of any major appliance or electric equipment, excluding the microwave, which I have limited supervised visits with. And I got free range of the grill and everything outside of the house, but in the house, I'm kind of banned from all the stuff like that. So if you guys want to get out of housework, just really screw a piece of equipment up one time, and you're free and clear. All right, guys, I'll chat you later. You have a good one. Bye.
Well, thanks a lot, Nikki G. I said it before, I'll say it again. Thanks a lot for, we can always count on you to call in every week, and it's always something interesting. It's a trick to come up with something interesting to say every week. And, I may be just fooling myself that, maybe I'm not thinking of something new to say every week. I'm just trying not to say, yes, it's episode blah, blah, blah every time the show starts.
See, I think it's interesting that Tony, the Nikki's not allowed near the washer and dryer, but yet he can fire up the flame, the grill, playing with fire and stuff like that. I think there's more risk for injury there, but well, that's just me. Hey guys, if you'd like to call in and join in the fun like Nikki G did, you got to give us a call. Hit up our 24/7 voicemail line, 267-507. Whoops, no, I'm sorry, 530-675-4102. That was giving out the live call-in number there. That number again is 530-675-4102. Nobody's going to answer. It's a 24/7 voicemail line only.
Yeah, and speaking of the live call-in line, we've got a really tight show tonight, so I did not open the conference call lines, but we normally have those open, and we'll try to have those open for next week. So, Josh, sadly, we've got a lot of great reviews already, so I guess I shouldn't think that it's a horrible thing, but sadly, we don't have any new reviews to talk about from Stitcher or iTunes. Now, of course, we continue to have people on XG Talk and Facebook and Twitter make great compliments about the show. And I don't know if you've been on Facebook recently, but we have just been getting friends requests like gangbusters.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah, I'll go and see that there's like a number 2 up there, and I'll click on it, and there'll be 6 friends requests.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just a whole, it almost fills up the length of the page. So we really want to thank you guys for friending us on Facebook. Always happy to friend a new person and make some smart-ass comments on your posts.
We'll be happy to keep those coming as well. And so guys, really tell a friend and spread the word about the XJ Talk Show and of course, xjtalk.com and, of course, XJ Talk over on Facebook.
I had one guy in chat the other day ask me if it was Tony or Josh, and he didn't know if we shared the account. And I said, indeed we do, but you're talking to Tony, so he wanted to know. He wanted to know who he was talking with, so he knew who he was addressing, which I thought was pretty cool. Then
cuss out and stalk later. No,
nothing but kind words. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Well, this part of the XJ Talk Show is brought to you by Audible.com. If you like podcasts, there's a good chance you're going to like audiobooks too, especially if you guys are busy like Tony and I. You don't have time to read those pesky books. Besides, reading a book in traffic is probably bad for your health. Audible.com has over 150,000 titles to choose from across any imaginable topic, from tech to sci-fi, fiction to fantasy, and yes, they even got some Jeep stuff too. To get you started, the XJ Talk Show has got your hookup. Just go to audibletrial.com/XJTalkShow and instantly get one free title of your choice. That's right, anything you want for free. Now, who says you can't get something for nothing? That's audibletrial.com/XJTalkShow.
Hey, Josh, what's going on?
Oh, we got some good stuff to share tonight around the campfire, Tony. A little something going on with my Jeep, and I imagine you got something too.
Oh, yeah. Now, I just want to jump out of the character here for a second and just mention, I think it was last week that we jumped into the chit-chat so fast, I couldn't even play the intro. You just started talking, and I just kind of I moved the slider all the way down, started playing it, and just faded in like a professional would do.
Yeah, no, I heard it kind of creep in there after a little bit, and I was like, oh, he did get to it. Hey, what do you know?
So I was Johnny on the spot this time, which I never understood what Johnny on the spot means, unless that has something to do with the bed and, no, never mind. Anyway,
I think that's a little before both of our times. But
gotcha. Would Johnny Appleseed, would it be?
Maybe. Well, you guys might remember some recent carnage that I have suffered. I've actually been suffering a lot of carnage here lately, but no, actually, my exhaust is taken quite a toll over the last couple wheeling trips, and I've got a nasty hole in my muffler, and it's just been beat up across the rocks and everything else that's been drug over. And it's time for some new exhaust. Now, it's not stock. This is the Dynamax Catback system that I've got with their. I think it's the turbo muffler is what they call it. And it's a decent high flow design. It's by no means high performance, but it's definitely better than stock. Definitely breathes better than stock. And I'm going to give it a 2 thumbs up review, especially for the price point. I got it through 4-Wheel Parts, I think. And at the time, there was a rather handsome rebate offer that they were offering when I picked it up. So I ended up paying like only $75 for a full catback system. And, that kind of deal, you can't be beat, especially when it's brand new. And it's held up very good over the last, 6-7 years, something like that. And it's taken some abuse. And but it only can take so much. And well, it's now at the end of its life cycle and needs to be replaced. Now, I'll probably end up keeping the rest of the catback system, but just replacing the muffler itself. And I've been researching some options as far as which direction I'm going to go. Now, when I first got this, I hadn't really planned on doing all of the exhaust modifications that I've done to the rest of the system to make the Jeep breathe easier. Obviously, I've got a board throttle body on the very near future. I've had a custom downpipe made to eliminate the restrictor. I've got an aftermarket high flow cat in there. I've got a chip in it as well, so it's programmed a little bit better. And of course, the catback exhaust, it's aftermarket to breathe better as well. So I still got to pass emissions, so I can't be taking things out or going like straight pipes or anything like that. And of course, up here in Oregon, spark arresters are mandatory as far as your exhaust system goes. So straight pipes wouldn't exactly be an option as well. Neither would really glass packs, the cherry bombs or something like that.
Let me stop you. What's a spark arrestor? Would that be the muffler?
Well, a muffler would count as a spark arrestor. If you don't have a muffler, if you register your vehicle in an area that doesn't require you to pass emissions, and let's say you've even removed your catalytic converter, then you would have to have some sort of external device that would eliminate the possibility for an ignited piece of carbon or a spark that has traveled down the pipe. Let's say you're running a little bit rich because you did something to the system that's not quite running right.
Yeah,
in any case, you gotta have catalytic converter. Right, you gotta have something to prevent something that gets too terribly hot from passing all the way through out into open air. So that's what a spark arrestor is.
So a potato would probably work too, just in the end of the tailpipe.
The Jeep probably wouldn't go very far, but you're right, it would work very well.
Which would be great with the tree huggers, I'm sure. So the catalytic converter gets very hot too. Is there any requirements to have any kind of heat shield on that where you're at? I mean, if they have a spark arrestor, I could see they'd be concerned about a hot catalytic converter as well.
You just have to have a catalytic converter. Oddly enough, even though catalytic converters can run very, very hot, we're talking maybe even 4-digit temperatures type of hot, and it's been known for a hot off-road vehicle with a catalytic converter parked over some tall grass to spark some fires. But there's nothing you can do about that because it's federal emissions regulated.
Well, I thought maybe they required some sort of cookie shield or something. Cookie sheet shield to go over it. I didn't know, since I've never been in that part of the country. It just kind of struck my mind. And by the way, guys, helpful hint: if you're taking a picture of your Jeep in the tall weeds, you might want to leave it running, which might sound counterintuitive with setting the grass on fire, but you might want to drive it out of there really quick if you start seeing smoke, because especially when the catalytic converter starts getting clogged up, it can get very hot.
Yeah, no, they can reach temperatures of 1,000 degrees inside there. That with those elements, things get clogged up. Those exhaust temperatures, they are mighty hot. So nonetheless, there's a few options I'm looking at. Some of the big, MagnaFlow or Flowmaster, those are up there as well. Thrush is on my list as well. There's some other no-name brands out there. I'm going to talk with some officials and find out if I can get away with a glass pack muffler, because I really like the idea of something thin and cylindrical tucked up It's because I'm toying around with the idea of doing some custom belly pan options, maybe clocking the transfer case, putting a big belly pan skid up there, giving myself a little bit more room underneath the Jeep. And if I can tuck that exhaust up at least close to or above the frame rails, well, that would be an attractive option.
Well, let me tell you about my Bilstein shocks. Am I saying that right? Is it Bilstein? Bilstein. I can't pronounce them, but I'd sure in hell paid for them. And I got the cheap ones too. They were $150 for a pair. I just got the ones for the front because I was having some wheel hop issues. I definitely need to get the tires balanced. It's been a long time since I had those put on, and I have not had them balanced. I'm sure it'll make the ride feel really good. But getting some decent shocks on the front is going to help on long trips and those times whenever I don't feel like spending an hour or 2 hours waiting in line at Discount Tires to have my stinking tires balanced. I hate that. I just hate it. Anyway, did I mention I hate it? Anyway, so I still need to make time to go do that, but it's almost like I want to schedule a day off to go over there when nobody else is there. Anyway, I'll do a quick report. I got the shocks on this past weekend and immediately started having starting issues with the Jeep.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
How's that work?
I asked myself the same question. So I drove it to work anyway on Monday, and then got home and went and picked up a starter, brand new starter from O'Reilly's. I would really honestly would have preferred to order it online and getting maybe a better brand name, but brand new starter, put it on there, and that fixed the problem. Unfortunately, I thought it was the battery on Sunday, so I went and picked up a new red top battery, and that didn't fix it. So, yeah. So anyway, I got a new red top, but that's okay. I've got a Wrangler that I can put the old red top in.
Repurpose. Very good.
Exactly. So, I don't know how much life that one has in it, but we'll use it until we need to replace it, and we'll put another red top in there. So anyway, the way the shocks ride, I didn't have the same problem that one of our xjtalk.com members had with their rough country shocks. Mine were still very difficult to compress, and when I took them off there, they extended fully. So I didn't notice a big difference in ride. Some of the things I did notice, now I do like taking corners pretty fast, about 90-degree corners pretty fast. And with the, say it for me again, I'll get it right from now on. Bilstein. With the Bilstein shocks, I did feel a lot like it was supporting the front end of the Jeep really level in those turns. It didn't let it drop down a little bit. No more wheel hop, but I can still tell that the tires are a bit out, that they need to be balanced. So all in all, it's not worse, but it's only slightly better, at least on the road. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens off-road, of course, and I am working towards that. Unfortunately, no modification goes unpunished, I always say. I put
That's true.
I put the shocks on Sunday, and then had the starting problems on Sunday. Put a new battery in the Jeep Sunday, still had the starting problems. Monday, put the new starter in there, and then Tuesday, I developed a lifter tick.
Oh no!
Yeah, and this is on the rebuilt engine that has got maybe 24 to 29,000 miles on it. So I'm sure everybody is familiar with the lifter tick noise, but just in case you're not, here it is. So I'm calling it the flutter, because whenever I'm accelerating up around anything above 2,000 RPM, I hear this fluttering noise. Now, I spoke.
Are you sure? Let me interrupt for just a quick second, if I may. Are you sure it's coming from the top end of the engine?
Yes.
Okay, because oftentimes people have confused lifter tick and a cracked flywheel, because they do sound a little similar.
Yeah. No, this is coming from the engine, and The flywheel, of course, is brand new, so it doesn't mean it can't crack. But it's got 24,000 miles on it as well. So I very much doubt that it's going to be that. And no, I can hear it. And now I was talking to Matt, the guy that built the engine for me, and he said I can actually shim it out. But before I do that, I'm going to try running some ATF transmission fluid in the oil for 10 or 20 miles, and then changing the oil.
What is that supposed to do? Because I haven't actually heard of that trick before.
Clean out the crap. There's something that's, there's something that's keeping that lifter from pumping up. And
well, that makes sense, because if you ever opened up a transmission, they are sparkling clean. Now, obviously, a transmission doesn't have any combustion going on in it, and they're obviously not exposed to the elements as far as the dirty air or anything like that goes. But I would say that makes sense. The ATF probably has a very, very high detergent content in it.
Yeah, and I'm not supposed to run it very long. He actually suggested that I put a quart in, go to work, and come home, which would be 40-mile round trip, and then change the oil. So it's not something that you want to do many miles, I think, because of that detergent action. So
real quick, make sure that you drain a little bit of oil out first. You don't want to overfill the engine and end up starting to blow seals.
Right. And you just thought I had this flash of the Singer seal. Okay, so we have the Radio Comtech segment that we had last week. And Josh, you know what I did wrong?
What'd you do wrong?
I pulled the wrong file into the mixer here. It was just the video file that I pulled in.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because John had provided both audio and video, and I didn't pull in the right one where I had mixed it. The audio file being the video file being an MP4, and the file I created was an MPG. So. Oh,
okay. There's the confusion.
It's that whole reading comprehension thing all over again.
I'm partially dyslexic myself, so G's and 4's, and they could look at the same. Why not?
So let's get to the Radio Comtech segment for this week. Thank you very much, John Pre-Runner, 1982.
And now it's time for some Radio Comtech.
Another warrior is on the mesa.
xjtalk.com is where you go when you're not off-road. And now you can go to xjtalk.com when you're off-road too. Using your smartphone, install the Tappa Talk app, then search for XJ Talk. Take XJ Talk with you wherever you go. Jury duty, dinner with your spouse's parents, even, well, anywhere you need your XJ Talk fix.
This is Radio Comtech.
Today I'm going to talk about choosing your first amateur radio. Hopefully you listened a few weeks back to my last Radio Comtech segment, where I advised on how to get your amateur radio license. If you're working towards that goal, your next step is choosing your first radio. There's two schools of thought on this. Some people think that a handy talkie or an HT makes a good first radio, while the latter group, and probably the larger group, think that the mobile radio is a better first radio. Now, the benefit of having an HT as a first radio is cost. Even though some of the big three, ICOM, Kenwood, and Yaesu, do have dual band HTs that cost more than a single band mobile, there are some Chinese radios that are almost dirt cheap. The cheapest of them being the Baofeng, or Pofeng. Baofeng apparently is supposed to be pronounced as Pofung. The company's actually changed the name so that us Americans pronounce it the right way. But I digress. This radio can be purchased for about $35 on Amazon. Now remember to go to the Amazon link on the xjtalk.com homepage. Now, one thing about an HT being your first radio, you have to understand the characteristics of the HT radio. With a stock rubber duck antenna, it's not going to perform to the best of its ability. A longer antenna definitely helps, and an external antenna mounted on the roof of your Jeep will help tremendously. Another issue with an HT is if you're actually using it as a handy-talkie, your body and objects around it have more of an impact on its performance. You could be having a great signal, step a foot to the left or the right, one direction or the other, and completely lose signal. It's just the nature of the HT radio. So if you're going to have one as your first radio, you have to understand how it performs. That's actually one of the reasons that most people don't think that an HT makes a good radio. Because for somebody new into the hobby, dealing with those characteristics can drive them away, because it can be very frustrating. The HT can be mounted as a mobile radio, but realize it's only 5 watts. With an antenna mounted on top, like I said, it will perform quite well in the city. Shouldn't have any problem hitting repeaters. Or if you're out wheeling, you can certainly talk to other people in your group. But if you plan on using it or possibly needing it as an emergency radio, you're going to be disappointed. It's not going to perform like you need it to in that type of situation. Now, my first radio was the Baofeng or Pofeng. For a more in-depth review of this radio, check out episode 86 from July of 2013. I have had this radio now for about a year. In fact, I have 2 of them now and have had no issues at all with them. I keep one at home and I keep one in the Jeep. I have moved up to a mobile radio now, and I'll get into that more next time. For the Baofeng Pofeng radio, they do offer external hand mics and battery eliminators that plug into the cigarette lighter, so it can, like I said, be mounted in a mobile installation. One good thing about having such a cheap radio available is for those that aren't quite sure if ham radio is the hobby for them, or not sure how they're going to like it once they get into it. $35 is not much to spend to find out whether this is something you want to get into. It's almost a disposable radio. You know, if you're using it on the trail and you jump out and it falls in the mud, big deal. You're out $35. If the radio lasts 18 months, 24 months, and then dies on you, I think that's you definitely got your money's worth, and that was a good investment. Like I said, I'm going on a year with my first one right now with no issues at all. There are many HTs available on the market, from single band all the way up to, I believe, quad band. But again, they can get expensive, more expensive than a single band mobile radio. And really for an entry-level beginner, a cheap Chinese radio can do just fine. Just realize what its limitations are and what its capabilities are, and maximize its performance with a larger antenna or an external antenna, and at least get your feet wet with it. But if you do enter in the ham radio hobby this way, plan on moving up to a mobile radio in the future. Alright, that's it for this week. Next time I'll be discussing mobile radios as your first radio. If you have a question or something you'd like for me to talk about on a future Radio Comtech segment, shoot me an email at prerunner1982@yahoo.com. This is John, prerunner1982, clear.
Well, thanks a lot, John. Appreciate that. Now, I'll just mention real quick that my personal feeling about handhelds is it is a blast, absolute blast, because I used to have to work Saturdays when I was watching, Josh and I have talked about it, watching Kung Fu Theater. I'd have to go up and perform some backups or something back in my very early days and with computers. And I would take my handy-talkie. At that time, it was an ICOM 2AT, and it was an absolute wonderful thing to be able to sit there, walk around, or sit there in the office while backups were running and listen to what was going on the local repeater there in Baytown, Texas, and then jumping in and having conversations. It was a wonderful little thing, and yeah, I did have problems hitting the repeater sometimes, depending on where the location was. You got to keep in mind that you're approaching higher frequencies. I mean, it was 2 meters. It's a VHF, so very high frequency. So metal and water in your body, all those things come into the factor of reflecting the signals and sometimes canceling the signal out going to the repeater. So you may have to move the handy-talkie just a fraction of the 2 meters that it's designed for, and then you get a very clear signal. So you'd have to deal with that. But having that ability, and keep in mind, this was in the 80s. So it was really long before the cell phones were very popular. So to have the ability to talk from anywhere you wanted to, basically, to somebody else was a foreign concept. It works much better than a walkie-talkie did from your very young days.
Yeah.
And John actually posted up here just earlier today, in fact, a discussion on xjtalk.com about an 8-watt version of that Baofeng Handy Talk. Just go over to xjtalk.com, do a quick search for 8-watt HT. You guys can join in on the discussion.
And now for a disclaimer. Jeep Tips is for entertainment purposes only. If you choose to follow these tips, man up and take the responsibility for your own actions. If you cannot, or you feel that working on your Jeep is beyond your abilities, seek the help or advice of a trained, certified mechanic.
Got a tip? We do. It's time for Jeep Tips.
Okay, so now for our second installment of Jeep Garage. I am assuming now that you have listened to episode 140 and you have gone out and bought your welder. You've bought your protective clothing, you've bought yourself a self-darkening hood, and you are now saying to me, this is getting expensive. Well, good tools like these, if you're going to build your Jeep, will save you a lot of money in the end. Before we're done here, I'm going to go through building things like skid plates, belly pans, frame stiffeners, and even a $3,000 front 3 or 4 link suspension if you want. And if you can build that $3,000 suspension for, say, about $700, well, all I have to say is you can save a lot of money that way. So let's get started. You've got your equipment, and now you need to know how to weld. And before we do that, I need to go over some concepts on welding, and hopefully you're going to be able to remember these concepts as we go through this, and I explain to you how to make a decent weld. Now, first off, I hope you bought that bottle of gas, because it's going to make a big difference in what you're able to do with your MIG welder in the near future here. So as we get ready to weld, the first thing you have to do, you got to ground it. You actually have to ground whatever you're welding on, because that electricity has to go from the gun through the wire into the piece of material and back to the welder. It's called completing the circuit, and it's just something you have to do. So you've got to take that ground clamp and you've got to find a good place on that and make sure it's clean. If it's on a piece of painted surface, you're going to try to strike an arc, and guess what? It's not going to happen. So you got to have a good ground. So find some bare metal. If you can't find a piece of bare metal, make one. Grind it off, sand it off, whatever you have to do. And sometimes that involves, on my particular Jeep, I just go ground to my favorite spot on my bumper, and it's good clear to the other end because of the way the bumper is attached. So you don't have to be right next to it, as long as it's got a good flow, a good path of unresisted flow back to the welder. That's the important part. Okay, now the first thing we need to go through here, and that's a term called puddle. Now everybody knows what a mud puddle is. It means it's got some mud in the bottom of it that's kind of will flow around your tires, and if you're a good four-wheeler like I know you all are now, mud puddles are fun. You go through there, and there's some soft, squishy stuff in the bottom. Well, a puddle of metal is no different. What it means is that there is a little spot of white-hot, flowing, molten metal, and that's actually what makes the weld, is that puddle. So just because we stick some rod on there or some wire, that doesn't mean you made a weld. All that means is that you goobered a bunch of metal on there, and that kind of a weld will fail. The kind of weld that really makes it a weld, rather than, say, brazing or gluing or anything like that, is that as we add material to this puddle, the puddle then forms a continuous metallic bond between both pieces and the metal that you've added. And that's what a weld is. So if all you've done is splatter some metal on top, all you really did was make a mess, and it's not going to hold up. And you might say, well, yeah, my welds have always held, but there'll come a day when that weld doesn't hold. So let's just be honest here and let's just try to get some concepts down so that we can get a nice, strong weld. It doesn't have to be pretty, but a pretty weld is undoubtedly a good weld. So there is some correlation there. So what we're going to do now is as we use our gun, we press the lever and the wire goes out and it makes contact and it sparks and so forth. We need to make sure that we stay in one spot long enough, or that we move the gun slow enough so that puddle is maintained. If that puddle is not maintained, the wire is still going to go out, it's still going to arc, but when the puddle is not maintained, then all we're doing is we're just putting a little bit of wire on the top, and it does not actually make a weld. It just puts more metal there. So we're going to maintain this puddle of molten, white-hot, liquid metal. And as it touches both pieces and we add a little bit to it to fill in the gaps, then that's the weld. And so we're going to maintain this now by having the proper settings on our welder, and we're going to go over that here in a minute. And you're going to move the gun slowly over the area to be welded. So now, by slowly, I mean we want to do an inch of travel in about 4 seconds. So we're going to move that gun about an inch on average, about every 4 seconds. That's 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. And we made an inch of weld. And that's, say, with it set on about an 1/8 inch thickness of material, or maybe even 3/16. That's as fast as you want to go. You don't want to go any faster because you have to make that puddle, maintain it, and then we're going to add another word here where we want to have penetration. And if any of you are experienced welders, you know what I'm talking about, penetration. So what do we mean by that? Well, that puddle has to go down into the metal. It can't just be on top. It has to work its way into the metal, and you want it to go about halfway through the thickness of metal. So here's the way it works. If I was to take a piece of metal, I was to lay it down flat, and then I would take another piece of metal and put it upright at a 90-degree angle so it looks like an inverted T, and then weld in the joint there. That puddle would penetrate half of the thickness of that 3/16 inch metal. Let's say that's what we're using. Okay, so it's going to go in there halfway through, 1 1/2 there on one side. If we were to go around to the other side and weld it, and it goes halfway through there, and then slice it so that we go across the weld and take a look at it, we would see that there is no place there that has not been molten and become all one piece. So it would look like it was a piece of T-iron, or it would look like it was half of an I-beam, something like that. It would look like it was made that way in a steel mill someplace. That's what we want when we have our puddle and we get penetration. We want to go about half of the thickness of the metal. Now you can go a little bit further than that, and try to get a little bit more penetration, but what will generally happen is that at some point you're going to have a hole, and everything's going to drop down, and you're going to say, oh crap, now what do I do? Well, you fill it in and you go from there. But the point is that half penetration is about good enough. Okay, so we know what we're supposed to do now. We're supposed to get a puddle there, and that means we watch it. You sort of get your field of vision there off to one side, so you're not looking directly down through the gun, so you can actually see what it's doing. You can watch that puddle, and that's what an experienced welder does. He watches his puddle. He can't see anything else through his hood except that arc and the puddle, and his puddle is what determines how fast he goes, or how slow he goes. Or if you're using a stick welder, what kind of motions you want to use on that stick, circular, C motion, things like that. So it's the puddle, and you can only learn about that puddle through experience. So now when you're making your first practice weld, you've got some scrap iron, you cleaned it off, halfway decently, got all the paint and the heavy rust and stuff off of it. Just start on one side, and after you've grounded it and hit the gun, and you're going to just sit there and watch that puddle. If you don't see the puddle, it's not working. So watch the puddle. That's the secret to learning how to weld. If you don't, you'll never have welds that are correct or functional or even look halfway decent. And with a MIG welder, as forgiving as they are, you should be able to make a halfway decent weld without too much practice. So we're going to watch the puddle. Now, the next thing you need to know is use two hands on the gun. I know it looks like it's made for one hand. Well, it is. But the fact of the matter is that when you put that second hand on there, then your hands become very steady and you're not shaky. And this is an important concept, because if you're going to maintain that puddle, you need to have the electricity kind of in one spot. You can't have it all over the place. So it's got to be two hands until you get real experience. Just get used to the idea. Two hands on the gun. I use two hands. Works fine. I've been welding a long time. Two hands is a great idea. And especially if you start getting really old and shaky and so forth, that's a good thing too. And there's another thing. And guys, we're going to have to man up here and just kind of admit this. The first time you strike that arc, you're going to be a little bit kind of intimidated. We'll use that word. The fact of the matter is we don't like electricity. None of us do. And the first time you do that, you're kind of worried about it, the noise, the crackling, and so forth. And you just, I don't really know if I want to do this or not type of thing. Well, it's just something you have to learn to get over with. It's kind of like fear of spiders and snakes and stuff like that. Eventually you got to man up and just get tough and get over it. And, you may be a little bit pained to admit that, but that's the way it is. And gals, same thing. Women make excellent welders. They found out in World War II. In fact, they make better welders than men do. But they've got to get over that fear of the noise and so forth. And once they do that, they become very, very good welders. So that second hand on there makes you less jumpy. It makes you better able to control any apprehension you have about it and move it correctly. Now, how far away do we keep that gun? Because this is really important. You can shoot that wire out there 8-10 feet if you want. Doesn't mean you can weld that way, but it'll go out there. It's nice and stiff, and it'll kind of wind around things because it's got a little curve to it, but it'll stick out there a long ways. So how far do you want that gun? Well, here's the thing. You have to maintain a gas shield. That means there has to be nothing but that gas over the weld, because if it's exposed to air, it'll start bubbling and it'll look like it's trying to boil from inside. And that's what that gas shield does. It keeps it from doing that because there's no oxygen in it. And what is happening to cause that bubbling is that oxygen is getting to that hot metal and it wants to burn, just like a lot of things want to burn in the presence of oxygen. So then it starts boiling. And so if you're using a flux core or a gas shield, either one, the whole idea is we keep that weld covered up until it gets down to cherry red. Once it gets to cherry red, it's fine. It'll be okay, because then it's not liquid anymore. So as long as that weld is white hot, we have to have some kind of shield over it. So the gun is going to need to be about a ½ inch away from the metal surface. You get it about an inch away and that gas shield isn't going to be working for you. And if you get it down and you touch the surface of what you're welding, the lights go out. Now, fortunately, the ends of those guns are made out of copper, and copper does not stick to steel. Just doesn't work. So the lights will go out, you take the gun back off, and you get the wire out there a little bit more, hit the trigger a little bit, and then put it back down and start in again. So keep the gun a half inch away, and by having both hands on there, again, that helps you do that. It helps you be able to see what you're doing if you're just a little bit off to the side, and also it helps you to keep it steady. So gun a half an inch away. You want the wire pointed away from you, and what this does is that wire, as it's coming out, it will actually push the weld, and it'll start piling up the metal, and that's kind of a handy thing to do. So you want that wire pointed away from you, the gun a half inch away, and both hands on it, and you want to move it at about an inch every 4 seconds. And if you maintain that, you'll make your first weld, and see how it goes from there. Now, as you make more and more of these welds, just make another weld beside it. You will get the hang of this, and you'll get more comfortable with it. And then you can try experimenting with different settings on your welders. Now, your smaller welders like this, they'll have settings for 1/8 inch, 3/16 steel, so forth and so on. Those are okay to start with. Those are general settings. And so go ahead and go with those. What you should be getting is that when you're welding, you're not getting just a bunch of crackling. Now, if you, at the lower settings, when you're welding really thin stuff, it's going to crackle. But by the time you get up to welding 3/16 and with that setting, you should be getting more of a hiss and a frying bacon type of smell. And that means that you've got a nice balance between electricity and wire. Now, if you have too much electricity and not enough wire, what it'll do is it'll burn that wire right back up to the tip, and sometimes it'll stick. And then if you still have your finger on the trigger, you got to take your welder apart and take all that bunched up wire out of it in front of the drive spool or behind the drive spool and so forth. And so run the wire back through the gun, and then you can start it again. So you don't want it too fast. Now, if it's too slow, what's going to happen is it's going to start crackling. And if you go beyond that, you'll actually feel the hard wire hitting the metal surface and trying to push the gun away. It'll be jerking on you. That means that you need to slow the wire speed down, or you need to add more power to the weld, either one, so that you get it balanced out. So do all of these things, do a little bit of practicing, and get that nice sound out of your gun, sort of a hissing sound. There'll be some crackling too, but kind of a hissing sound. And get used to the right speed. And if that, if you're going a little bit too fast, the weld will start getting hourglass shapes in it and so forth, and it won't look like it spreads evenly. That means you need to slow her down. If you're not going fast enough, the weld will take on a very flat nature because it's getting a puddle that's too big, and you're probably going to be in danger of burning through. So that means you need to go a little faster. So practice on this, and by the time you're ready to get this down, get your couple of hours in, get it practiced, burn up the gas, burn up the wire. That's the only way you learn. The next time we're going to talk about how to make vertical welds and overhead welds with a wire feed. There's a trick to it, and you're not going to be able to do it at all until you get these basic flat welds down. So good luck, guys and gals. We'll catch you next time.
Hey, thanks a lot, Steve. Interesting stuff. I've been wanting to get a welder in my shop here for a while.
I've got one of those Harbor Freight welders. It's 240 volt. Lucky for me, but I wish I had that gas, man. My welds are ugly.
Well, you can add it to it, right?
Yeah, I sure can. It's just something I haven't done. It's been kind of a low priority because I don't do a whole lot of fab work here. I've got buddies that got all the equipment that are far more experienced and, well, higher-end equipment than what I've got. But nonetheless, gee, Steve, a whole ton of really good advice there, a lot of great tech tips, even for the novice or beginner fabricator. You guys stay tuned to Jeep Garage. We'll be giving a lot more tips, and Steve's going to be giving us a lot more advice during this segment, upcoming episodes.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, Steve. Now, I just want to say thank you to Steve and John for jumping in there and being a part of the show. And you can be a part of the show, too. We love to have you on because it means less work for me and Josh and less rambling. You hear less rambling from Josh and I whenever people jump in. So if that's not enough of a reason for you to be part of the show, I can't tell you what else would be.
Hey, speaking of friends of the show and stuff like that, check out Hidden Wounds XJ. Guys, go to hiddenwoundsxj.com, and they even got a Facebook page. Friend them, pick up some of their stickers and T-shirts, help support their cause. They're doing some really good stuff, and those guys could definitely use the support.
Yep, don't forget to join us every week, every Thursday, 10 p.m. Central Time at youtube.com/xjtalk. We're on Facebook. We're on the Twitter, as you kids call it. And we're on Tumblr. I don't think we post a whole bunch of pictures there, but we are on Tumblr, so you can check us out there. So we'd like to see more of you and more of your Jeeps. Whether or not you'd like to be on the show, show us on one of the social media sites. We still like looking. We're only human. We love looking at pictures.
That's right. Make sure you guys are spreading the word. Tell a friend about the XJ Talk Show. And guys, the entire show archive is available for your downloading pleasure for absolutely free over at xjtalkshow.com.
You know, Josh, I'm going to have to go back and listen to Jeep Garage Part 1 because I want to learn more about this welder he's talking about. I've been holding out for a $1,000 MIG welder. That doesn't include the bottle because that's what Mark over at Detours USA recommended to me. And man, you know, maybe if I don't have to spend $1,000, I might actually do it.
Hey, the XJ Talk Show, saving you money.
That's right. You guys have a great Jeep week.
We'll see you next time.
That was an hour and 30 seconds.
I knew we were going to be really close to the mark.
Yeah, it was right on it. Really good. I think I talked a little too much before we got into the chit chat segment. And
30 seconds too much, Tony.
And then a little over.
No, I think that was just fine. We were hitting those time markers that we had set up in the show notes pretty dang close to on the dot. So I think we were even a minute early going into chit chat.
Yeah, we were. We had a little extra time, which is fine. Actually, it's a better thing for us to have extra time in chit chat.
Yes, yeah, especially for us. Yes.
Say, we didn't mention the Tony and Josh show. Well, I guess we did mention some of it with a video freezing, but you guys should check out the Tony and Josh show. I played an ugly trick the last week. I put, instead of the regular midweek, I guess around Friday last week, I stuck in the latest Tony and Josh episode, and I think we had like 170 downloads of that, Josh. And I guess it's still counting. So I don't know. I don't expect we'll be getting that many downloads of that show every week, but the way I look at it is that if we can promote that a little bit and maybe get people, at least give people the chance of hearing it, they can say, oh, this is crap, or this isn't for me, and move along. But some people might go, hey, this is pretty good. It's not Jeep related, but it's still fun to listen to, and I share those opinions, or I don't share those opinions, and I'm going to give those people a piece of my mind.
Yeah, we would encourage you guys to do that because oftentimes we're spouting off opinions that most people aren't going to like.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people real happy with the my position on Robin Williams' suicide, but that's coming up on. We recorded it last night, and you'll be able to hear that coming up here in the next couple of days, for sure by Monday, maybe sooner.
Yep. So if you guys would like to figure out what we're talking about on other Tony and Josh show episodes, well, head over to tonyandjosh.com.
Yep. And we have a live show Wednesday night at 10 p.m. on YouTube /Tony and Josh show. YouTube.com/Tony and Josh Show.
Tony, I've got our script already written. I went ahead and during the pre-show went ahead and drafted that up since I already knew what we're going to be talking about. So we're ready to go for our promo. If you'd like to roll into that, but we can just as easily sit here and chew the rag about other stuff if you'd like.
No, I'm ready to. There's that chicken soup was good. I don't eat potatoes very often, and there's some potatoes in it. I'm wanting to have a few more potato bits. So I'm ready to roll into that. Hey guys, thanks for being here tonight. We really appreciate you guys taking your time to come here at for some of you very late at night, especially on the East Coast to come here and watch us do this silly thing. A couple of knuckleheads with a microphone and a frozen image every 15 seconds. That's just really strange, Josh. I don't know why that happened. I think probably what I'm going to do next is upload. You were fine. I was just commenting on it. But you're getting good at it. It was really fast.
That's right over that
button. I say fur, and you start restarting it. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But anyway, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade my Skype to the latest version and see if that doesn't make a change.
Oh, I thought you had done that already.
I did that on the laptop. Because it was requiring me to do it. Okay. So I don't know. We'll get it figured out. We get most of these things figured out. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up so we can do our promo, and I can go eat some more little potatoes and the chicken soup. And thanks again, guys, for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. Talk it up on XJ Talk or if on Facebook or whatever. Let people know that you enjoy the show and that you like being part of the live show where you can make comments with folks and see the shenanigans before and after. So let's get some word of mouth going about this show because the more people, the more fun it is for all of us.
Indeed. Well, like you said, guys, thanks for joining in and tell a friend. We'll see you guys next time.